All right, I'll follow your lead.
So this is Mr. Hall. This is Zachary Hall. He trains us in Thunder. You get me? So he's used to just kind of like sharing and coaching. I've grown a lot in some of these learning from him. He's certified with like Bob Proctor. He's just like one of the like higher people in the company and when it comes to just being able to help people get out of their own way. We've had a lot of great guests in the podcast. I'm gonna let him introduce himself a little bit as well. Want to do something like really positive on his side when it comes to like not just is he like one of the top performers, but he helps people with like the Bob Proctor model, and I want to talk about today on a little bit about that, and on the Mind RX Academy, and then on his TikTok, the relationship coach for the misses, and how was it that you kind of got into like personal development? And I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, and then from where you were at, you kind of started getting your life together with like that model that you have that they shared with you on like what's it, Proctor Gallagher, I believe, because you pay like I think like a nice little lump sum coin, and of like to be able to like learn some of these like really advanced like trademark like techniques, and however like I'm just doing the best way that I can communicate it. You get me? Letting you introduce yourself based off like past episodes.
Sure. No, and I gotta say, Noel, I appreciate you having me on, and I can tell like it's an honor to be, working with you and spread the message. You have like a fire about you. I can tell like a really good head on your shoulders. The energy about you is very edifying and enlightening for I think anyone who comes into your sphere. I've known you just very shortly, and I already feel uplifted, like just talking with you, over on the other side of the country. So I just respect that
Yeah,
greatly.
I'm in
And
India. No, I'm kidding. I'm in Miami. Born and raised Miami, Florida.
no, but I appreciate what you're doing and grateful for the opportunity to share. Yeah, so a little bit about me, I guess, how I got into self development and kind of on this path. When I grew up, and it's kind of crazy to even say this out loud, but I was an incredibly shy kid. Um, I was just telling this client that I'm working with that just got started today. And it was interesting. I don't remember ordering food for myself, just to give you an example, until I was like 15, 16 years old, when my parents finally said, like, okay, you have to do this. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And now to know that, like, I meet new people for a living, like, I literally, my life is dependent on me starting new interactions. And been able to be on stage for like hundreds of people. Like it's such a cool place to see how far
Wow.
that growth has taken me. And it's helped me realize like this is possible for anybody. And not even saying that I've gotten very far. There's still a big vision that I'm working towards. But to go from not wanting to talk to anybody to now that's I just want to I'll toot my own horn for a little bit and say it's just been a miraculous transformation blessing in my life. Um, to give you a better insight, though, the self development journey as like a focus wasn't really a thing for me until probably about 4 years, 4 or 5 years ago. I've been doing solar for 8 years, and a few years into it, something happened, something that I didn't have control over, where we were doing really well. I had just reached this promotion. I was running a team now. I was getting to train and teach others how to succeed, and it was probably like a dream job. Like the money was amazing, the impact was awesome, and I loved being able to help other people. And then this company decided to fire the entire organization, to let go of the entire 1,300 something reps, which was even crazy to say looking back. What ended up happening, long story short, was my production, even though I landed laterally at another company, I became a manager at another company and stuff, my performance started to suffer. So the results I was producing in my sales career began to decrease. And after a while, I started, asking and doubting myself, why am I working harder than ever before and still not able to produce what I used to produce? And that self doubt led ultimately to a pretty dark place. Self doubt turned into a lot of, self-hatred even. And no, I got to a pretty dark place. I had a lot of crying nights. My wife, amazing. She was with me behind every step of the way. And long story short, I got introduced to a book from a friend of mine. It's called The Jackrabbit Factor. Really good one. But it was written by a student of Bob Proctor. And so I started reading the book. I started applying the principles. And immediately I felt a change within me. And then after a few months, results in my life started to change as well. And it was so drastic and relatively in such a short amount of time. I was determined. I knew I had to do this for other people. And I felt pulled to do it. And so, yeah, I invested a lot in myself and in studying under Bob and the Proctor Gallagher Institute. That was like 3 years ago to really start the self-development journey. And it's been a complete 180 and like just awesome trajectory since then. That's kind of how I got into it. And then, the name MindRx Academy, a lot of people don't know, but I actually went to med school for a year. So I was going to be a doctor, found myself in sales. So MindRx has
Whoa.
a little bit of a nod
Can you
to.
talk about, if that's okay, a little bit about like how that like worked out, like how that happened? Because like that's like I could see you as a doctor, Zach. I just come in and it's just like, hi, I need to get a cast or whatever it is you were going to get into. So whatever, like yeah, I could see you as a doctor, like doctor
No, yeah, it was interesting.
in the profession.
Yeah, and this is why I have to give such credit to my wife too, because she thought she was marrying a doctor, right? When we got married, I was on the path to becoming one in undergrad, studying, getting ready to or doing my pre-med courses and stuff. And I got accepted and went to medical school for a year. I did the whole first year, and so I'm, 1 year of medical school debt in my belt, and it was in California. So my wife's from California. We already had a kid at the time, and the cost of living in California is, as probably anyone listening to this knows, is just astronomical. So there wasn't enough. We maxed out the student loans. There wasn't enough to support us in California as a family unit. It's meant for an individual. The student loans are not for a family. I already had a wife and a kid entering school.
Wow.
And
Congrats, by the way.
oh yeah, thanks. No, it's appreciate it.
Some of the fruits of life.
Yeah.
And
No,
everything has its season, right? So
yeah,
congrats.
they're super great blessing. And like so yeah, I was doing the year and we ran out of money. Maxed out the student loans. Living in California, we ran out of money. And I was even working on the side while going to med school, trying to support this, and it just wasn't enough. So a friend of mine, longtime friend, was selling solar in Arizona. And you have like 5 weeks between the first year and the second year. At least I did at my school. So I was like, hey, buddy, I got 5 weeks. I'm going to sell, as much. He had been doing alarms before. I was like, I got to sell as much alarms as possible. We need the money. And he's like, well, actually, I'm doing solar in Arizona. Like, that's where I'm from. That's perfect. Let's do that instead. And as I got into it, as I started doing it, I saw a much greater potential. And I saw that I could earn what I would eventually earn as a doctor without the cost of education to become that level of income, without the debt. And I also saw a lot more control over my schedule, a lot more ability to be like, hey, if my kid, as he grows up, if he has a sports game and I want to go to that, I'd have the ability to do that. But maybe as a doctor, I might have to get on call or something like that. Um, so that was a big reason behind deciding like, let's give this a year. Let's now compare careers. And 1 year became 8, to put it shortly. I started to love what I was doing. I saw the impact I was making in customers' lives, and I saw the freedom it was giving me and the potential and earning and stuff, and how I could be there. We had our second child during that year.
Jesus really
So
loves you, bro. Like, I don't know, you have something where it's like you've overcome a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of time that people would have just kind of thrown in the towel. Like, because a lot of the time somebody might have just said like, hey, listen, like, I don't know, like you've had victory, and it's just like you kind of like stuck it out, like you were faithful, and like you kind of put in the work, and it's just like I think a lot of the time people stop working hard like before they made it because you were already doing really good. There was a company they had let go like of 1,300 reps. And were you doing that before school and then you wanted to go into school? Were you doing school and you got into that, and then you started like finding the what's the book called? Let me see, the Jackrabbit Factor.
no, so that's actually the funny
Because
part is, yeah,
in
no, it's
California at the time, and then you're from Arizona originally.
yeah. So what's interesting is no, I had decided to take a year to do as much solar sales as possible in order to save up and go back to school, go back to med school. So I was 1 year med school in, and I took that on hold to sell as much solar as possible, save a bunch of money so that we could ride through the remaining 3 years before residency, where I could start earning. And it was right at the end of the second year. And this is like decision time. You only get 6 years to do the four for school. So I either had to go back or I had to start over. And I remember putting a lot of faith and prayer into this. And, sometimes, just for your viewers' sake, like I believe in God, I believe in higher power. And so there's a lot of prayer, a lot of thought going into this. And sometimes He lets you make the decision and then supports you in it. And that's what I found is I wasn't really getting as much of a clear answer. Um, I needed to make the call. It was almost like choose either way, like we'll make this work. You know what I mean? They're both good things. Being a doctor would be great. Starting his career in solar and renewable energy would be great, right? So like you have to choose. It was almost that kind of answer. And I remember choosing. I was like, cool, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay in solar. We're gonna do this. And right after I made that decision, I got the promotion to that district or management level. So now I'm leading a team, and I felt like that was confirmation, right? Like I've been praying, I make the decision I'm going to stay, and then boom, I get promoted. It's like, yeah, here's your confirmation. And then 2 months after the promotion is when the company let go of everyone. So I was like, wait, I thought this was the confirmed path. I thought this is where I was supposed to go. I thought like you had my back on this. And so yeah, that was probably a little bit of why I started performing poorly because I reacted poorly to something I didn't have a lot of control over. And that led to the self-doubt, which after a year of living through that, and probably the worst I've ever felt, is when I opened the book and I started reading and I started, working on myself again. And it's funny you talk about persistence. There, for anyone who's going through something, there's victory alone in persistence. I want people to know that like just moving forward is victory. You don't need the fruit or the result to show up right away. Just moving forward has victory itself and should be celebrated. It's definitely something that's helped me a lot, for sure.
And I think a lot of people, when it comes to that, they don't have your mindset, right? Where it's just like sometimes like they'll stay and they won't find answers for some reason because of like negative conditioning or whatever it might have been on the outside, and getting rid of that entirely, if not already, on the outside. And then it's like if you stick it out, like there's like 1,000 ways to do it. There's like a million ways to do it, and it's just like I definitely I want you to, if you could, like your model, like the circumstance, the thought, feeling, action, result. You get me the best way that you want to be able to do it, and sharing with others on like how it is that you were able to just kind of like now you're scaling teams. You actually take on students as well in the Mind RX Academy, um, which is a beautiful thing because you actually care about them and you're going to help them. And then you also have the misses here on TikTok, the underscore relationship, collectively, like coach. And it's just like, how are you guys able to do that? You get me, with that model, the circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result, from where you were from, let's say, from where you were at to some of the people that maybe are not where they want to be at yet, so they can maybe get a couple of nugs, a little bit of like a few nuggets here and there on how
Yeah.
a cup, silver, gold, and wisdom being worth more than that, and use that to buy wisdom, right? From where you were
Yeah.
at, and it will amplify, and it'll be more,
Yeah.
from where you were at with that model, and then how you started like to get where you're at now afterwards. And if you could like fill in the little bits in the middle with your nuances, you get me the intricacies of like the best of how you know how to do it, and like just with that strong, grateful, positive attitude, and just like that strong, confident attitude, just like for us and for them, and like from where you were at. Um,
Sure. So it's a big question, because there's so much behind, like you said, that this model, and I got to give credit where it's due to. Anyone? Oh, I should probably separate when I talk about like MindRx Academy and the coaching work that I do. I do want people to know I'm not like someone who tells you what to do. You'll see in a second we talk about like living in the action line. Actions are important, and most coaches I've seen out there will give you a list of like how to, like, do this, do that, do this. There and the problem with that is as long as that relationship is intact and you have someone telling you what to do, well, actions produce results. So you will get the results by doing what the person tells you to do, right? Like if they tell you to go to the gym and they force you and they push you to go to the gym, you're going to get stronger. The problem that most people have, though, is that's just a band aid, because
yes,
actions are actions are like they're a secondary cause to the result. They're more downstream. It's not actually where the result is coming from, what created it. And when that coach student relationship separates and that person's back on their own, if they haven't changed the primary cause, they'll find themselves going back to the way they've always done things and then producing the results they've always done. And so what changed for me is it's more of a paradigm shift. You get to the root cause, the primary cause of where that result comes from, then you'll create permanent change, and there's no going back. You're not treating the cut with a band-aid, or in other words, I like to, medical thing, you're not treating like heart pressure, blood pressure with a blood thinner. You're not just pumping in medicine to thin out the blood. You're changing the diet. You're changing the exercise habits. You're getting to the root cause of why there's high blood pressure. And that cures the high blood pressure, right? So, same kind of thing with our results. Our results are only the actions we take are just a secondary cause for it. They're like the band aid or the blood thinner. We have to trace that back to that primary source of where the result comes from. And everyone I've learned, like all high performers, thought leaders, and everything, like Bob Proctor, this model itself as a function or as a model comes from someone called Brooke Castillo. It's all the same stuff, but she formulated it in what's called a model. Bob taught the same stuff. All of these really inspirational thought leaders, they've all found that it's our thinking that determines our results. Thinking is the primary cause. And if you can get to the beliefs and the thinking and the paradigms and shift that, then the results, the actions you take to produce those results becomes more automatic. And I have definitely been a witness to that, watching other people, but I'm also a product of that product. I've seen it completely transform my life, getting to the root cause and changing that. So that's kind of how this model came about, was recognizing that what is the primary cause to the results I'm producing, and finding out that it's not the action, it's comes from the source, which is the thinking that I have, because that's the only thing that frankly I have control over. That is my locus of control. I can control my thinking, no one else can. Therefore, I can control the result at the source. Does that make sense?
that makes sense. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, there's gonna be something like unconsciously that they're gonna have to resolve, whatever that is, and get rid of it, so they can be able to start getting up, and they can have a lot of surface level stuff, even though that'll work. But when it all starts getting together, if not already, and improving and getting better, like they can be able they can be able to just become a different version of like who they could potentially be. and they level up, and then they start like having all these other things like at a level that is just like they never even thought was possible sometimes, or they never dreamed it, or
Well,
they were only able to conceive it because it's like this is possible.
yeah,
And this is actually how it works for like for all of it, for like virtually
yeah.
all of it.
No, you nailed it. So Bob Proctor said a lot, like all the time. He would say that most people don't think, and if you take like offense to that or whatever, you're like, no, I think all the time. I have thoughts racing through my head all the time. Um, but that's actually not thinking. That's like being busy but not productive. Most people don't think. Their thoughts are reactionary. Their thoughts just are automatic. They're on autopilot and they're just going through life, going through the motions based on ideas or beliefs that most of them have already been formed for them. They haven't even taken conscious attention to the thoughts and beliefs they have. They grew up in a home where their parents said money doesn't grow on trees. And so now they think that money is a very hard thing to get, right? Because of that idea of what they grew up in, or some authority figure once said something or did something, and they now have a thought that's like ingrained in them. Most of us aren't aware of what those beliefs are, and so we
Wow.
continue acting in accordance with our beliefs, but we're not aware of why they're that way. So yeah, Bob said all the time, like, most people don't think. Most people don't take time to think, like, why is it this way? Is this really true? And actually challenge their beliefs in order to produce the results that they're truly seeking for. If they even get that far as to like set a target. That's probably the biggest struggle. Most people don't even know what they want. Yeah.
And then wow. And then even set a target. And I like to say start with the end in mind. And I think most of the time, if you're able to do that and you're able to stick it out, it's just like, my God, you like, can you? I definitely want you to go into the model. So like, how was it
Yeah.
when it's just like, so you had that company, and that company for whatever reason, they went out of business, and they had let go of 1,300 reps, and then in between that or before that or after that, you were in school, and then you started reading the Jackrabbit Hat Factor. Okay, and then eventually you started like picking your production up again. You reached the whole like 180, and it's just like you're at where you're at now. How was it for us and the viewers, the circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result, that model with the MindRx Academy for us, like if you could
Yeah.
walk us through that timeline
So
process,
yeah.
and like
So
if you're
first
able to
I'll
like timeline it.
yeah. So first I'll quickly, Noel, I'll for everyone, I'll define these things because it's really important to have like a definition of them. And this will kind of be like a back and forth so that you can kind of like register it. So I want to picture like everyone who's listening, like think of yourself answering these questions I'm about to ask. But this first thing, circumstance. This is basically like by definition, it's an event or a circumstance. It's something that's happening or has happened. It could be what someone says to us. But the most important part, what makes it a circumstance, is that it is neutral. But William Shakespeare said that things are neither good nor bad, thinking makes it so. Things just
Mm.
are. Stuff happens, and then there's what we think about what happens. So I'll give like an extreme example. And sorry, I'll give I'll give it an extreme example. But if I were to say like 9/11, if you remember 9/11, I think most of America would agree that if I said 9/11 was a terrible day, 9/11 was terrible, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it was
Now this
sad.
is yeah, this
Every
is an
people
extreme
were hurting
example.
each other.
Yeah. This is an extreme example, but would everyone in the world agree that 9/11 was a terrible thing? So here's what
I think most people that value life would say yes,
yeah,
just
most
because
people
it's
would.
life.
And this is why I mean it's extreme, just to get the point across. The people doing the hijacking, the terrorists, they thought they were doing a great thing. They thought, same event, same circumstance, someone hijacking a plane, crashing into a building, like we would view that as terrible. They thought that that was great, that they were doing exactly what they were supposed to do. So the same event, but a different thought about it. And so that's what I mean is like, in order for something to be labeled or described as a circumstance, you have to remove all judgment, all bias. There can't be an adjective or any description in a circumstance. It has to be completely neutral. Okay. So, walking you through the model in my life, the company I worked for fired 1,300 employees, including me. That was a circumstance. That was an event that took place. Okay. When that happened, and I didn't realize it at the time, I began having thoughts. And what a thought is in this model is it's a sentence. It's one sentence in your mind, basically a story that you're telling yourself. It's a form of perception. Here's where the judgment comes in. Here's where there's bias, adjectives, and descriptions. So we got fired. I got fired. And I made it mean something about me, that I wasn't worthy or that they didn't want me, right? Now, imagine as I'm thinking that a company doesn't want me, how do you think I'm going to feel?
How would how
How
do
would
you
you
how did
feel?
how did yeah, I was gonna be like, how did you feel? Because I don't want to say like how I think that you would feel because I'm not you, but it's just like how did you feel? Me, I mean, I'd be just like, I don't know, like you don't have good taste.
Yeah, cool.
And on talent, you get me. You get me.
No, that's
Being with like
awesome.
a young high performer, you get me.
Dude,
Baseball, hockey, football, whatever it is.
so Noel, thank you, because that's perfect. Because the same
Soccer,
circumstance
basketball,
could have happened to you.
um,
What if Sunder fired
rugby.
you, right? What if Sunder was just like, we're going to get rid of 500 reps, and you're one of them, right?
Oh man.
I would, in the past version of me, yeah, I would have reacted like, well, why do they not want me? Am I not worthy? I'm not worthy, right? And I would have gone down that route, and I felt sad. I felt uh, betrayed, right? Versus someone like yourself, Noel, you got this head on your shoulders, you're faithful. That someone could come to you and say, hey, we're letting you go. And you could think, well, you don't have a taste for talent. Clearly, you're missing the boat here. And you would feel something completely different. And here's the point of this model: there's what happens, and then there's what we think about it. And the same thing can happen, but two people can have completely different thoughts, and they'll feel completely different. Because it is not what happens that creates the emotion within us. It's what we think about what happens. The event takes place, and then we have an idea in our head that flashes by. Usually it's too fast. We don't even realize what we're thinking. Suddenly we recognize we're feeling bad or good or whatever, and we place the blame on the thing. We put the blame of why we feel the way we feel on what someone said about us, which we have no control over, right? We put the blame on the company firing us. That's why I feel sad. The company fired me, right? But that has nothing to do with why I feel sad, because someone else got fired and they felt great because they had a different idea about it. They made it mean something different, okay? So hopefully that's starting to connect. We are the creator, the manufacturer of our own emotion. Of our feeling. And when I say feeling, just for definition purposes, it's important to note that I'm not talking about like sensations. So, sensation is something that's like hot or cold. You feel that sensation from the body and it travels to the mind and you register it. When I'm talking about feeling, I'm thinking more of emotion. Emotions start in the mind and they travel to the body. In fact, the word emotion, really the best definition I found is it's just a word used. Bob taught this all the time. It's a word used to bring conscious awareness of the vibration that our body is in. So happy, sad, confident, depressed, whatever emotion you can list, those are just words that we use to bring conscious awareness and understanding to the vibration that our body is in physically. And that feeling, that emotion, how you feel is just an expression of what thinking is going on in your head. So Bob would say all the time, like my mentor, Brooke Castillo too, they'd say all the time, if you're feeling off, now you can recognize, wait, if I'm not feeling the way I want to feel, Why is it? And you can trace that back to what you're thinking about. And if you're thinking you're unworthy, of course you're going to feel like crap, right? But what if you change that? Is that true? Are you unworthy? No, like what if something else was true and you could make it mean something else? Which is what that book and my studies and self-development really helped me do, is it gave grace and recognized that like that was something that happened. I didn't have control over, and it didn't mean anything about me. I'm still worthy. I'm still capable of my dreams. Even though I got fired and they didn't want me, someone did. I am desirable.
You're always
And
gonna be desirable, regardless. I think at this, I don't want to interrupt, but it's just like anybody
no,
else is just like, you're they're always gonna have like self-worth just by being alive like that, and there's just different like there's different levels of it. It's just like, okay, cool, like you know, you're alive, you have self-worth, and it's just like, what are you gonna do with those talents that you have that are different and you, distinct and unique to you than the others? What are you gonna do with them? You're gonna multiply them? Like Zach, he's like, he's done a lot in his life. Okay, you can go back
yeah, yeah.
and
No, you're, you're
uh,
you're not wrong, but no. So that's the biggest thing is, and I appreciate you saying that. Like, what we have to recognize, a lot of us think that like what's happened to us, or maybe something traumatic has happened to us. Maybe something a long time ago when we were a kid, someone did something terrible to us, and a lot of people struggle with letting go of that and detaching from it, and they make it mean something about themselves, that they're no longer worthy or capable or lovable. And I have to tell you, there's what's happened or what's happening now, and then there's you. And one idea you got to get in your head and you got to come to believe is that you are not your life. You are separate. There's what's happening, and then there's you. There's the circumstances, and then there's you. And you, as a human being, as a child of God, are 100% lovable, 100% capable, and 100% worthy. Those three things you're entitled to them by being human. You are human. That's it. And those three things you are entitled to, regardless of what's happening on the world around you or what someone is saying about you. That's just a circumstance. We can start to control our thinking, we'll feel better. And that feeling, like I could go off forever on feeling. There's so much behind that. We probably don't have time for. Maybe it's another episode, but ultimately that feeling, the way we feel, drives us to act. And if you're feeling great and confident, you're going to act like a confident person. But if you feel sad or lonely, like you're going to act like a lonely person. That expresses itself physically in the form of what we do or don't do. And the action or inaction therefore produces the results. So when I come to work with someone, or someone comes to work with me and they start listing off their results, right? I can tell what they're
yes,
thinking. The result is always a reflection of what they think. So when I was
and
thinking,
making it positive
that's the goal.
and constructive, and like, you get me, like actionable like thoughts.
Yes. Yes, because here's the thing, if I keep thinking the same way, I'll keep producing the same result. If I kept thinking I'm not worthy, it wouldn't matter how hard I got myself to work. My income continued to go down. And I'm speaking, this is my personal story. I had the idea they didn't want me. I'm not worthy. I felt sad, lonely, down. I acted from that place. And even though I had these good work habits and I had a strong work ethic, I was now trying to sell from a place of scarcity and sadness. And I don't know about you if you've tried doing that, but that doesn't sell. People don't buy from people who are sad and needy. But that's how I was feeling. So that's how I was acting. Even though I got myself to do the work, it wouldn't produce a result. So my thought was I was unworthy of the good I wanted. Like the result was I didn't make myself worthy. And so I could tell what I was thinking by the results I was producing. And I can do that for anyone that comes to work with me, anyone that I'm able to help. Like we show the result is a reflection of what the thought is. And like you said, Noel, once you become aware of that, once I became aware that I was thinking I'm not worthy of it, now I could start to create a shift. Now I could start to, with that awareness, start to ingrain a new idea, a new belief that I am worthy. I'm a child of God. He desires the best for me. And those thoughts, those beliefs empower me to feel better and therefore act from a better place and create better results. And I'll give you one last idea here. If you have any other questions, we can break it down. But you mentioned beginning with the end in mind, right?
Earlier on, like when we were talking, yeah, on
Yeah.
like your episode. This is your
So
episode, so it's like however you want to like take it. You get me like the nugs because you've been able to do a lot. And then if you could do maybe like at the end, like a quick run through, like circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result, maybe with like a 1 to 2 bullet point, like or just like 1, 2, 3 bullet points, like this, and this, and then on like
sure.
a high note, you get me with like a little bit more on what they can take away and it knowing that hey listen like it's possible regardless of where you're at, and then it's just like here's like a little something something, and I would rewatch it because there's like a lot of little things that
Yeah.
Zach was talking about, and if I've had any value you get me awesome.
No, so you talking about the end in mind is so important. Steve Jobs talked about it. You don't connect the dots from the beginning, you connect it from the back. You go to the finish, and I'll tell you a secret of the successful. It seems like the more and more people I work with and surround myself with that are real high achievers in creating great results, they all have this talent and this skill of living life from their future in the present moment. So I want you to think about whatever result, anyone listening, anyone watching, you think about that result that you're going after. Maybe it's a new car, maybe it's owning your own home, free and clear. Maybe it's producing a high level sales team and empowering people to become 6 or 7 figure earners. Maybe it's just being there for your family. Maybe it's finding that significant someone. Whatever that result you're going after, I want you to think about why. And if you'll flatter us for a second, Noel, like this could actually be really helpful for you. Is there a particular result or goal or ambition that you're going after that you're looking to create, like a target you have for your life?
I want to move to like Coral Gables. It's about 40 to 50 60K a year, and I want to move out. I want to have like my own place again, and I want to move to Coral Gables. I want to be able to
Cool.
do that, and I want to inside that house turn it into like a laboratory, and
Yeah,
like a workshop. I want to use the living room and the backyard as like a sales floor, both of those for like calls. And then one of the rooms will be like an office. You get me? One of the rooms would be a master
yeah,
bedroom. One of the other rooms would be like a
I
creatives
love it.
room where it's like cooperations for like podcasts and something. And I think I have like an extra room. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it.
I
That
love it.
I set that for myself before. And I'm just gonna keep
So,
doing it until I hit that.
why do you want that?
Because it's gonna be an environment where myself I'm gonna be able to just like speak more adamantly freely and being able to build others up without any kind of reproach. And at the same time, I'm gonna be able to just because I'm building up people that want to like hit higher levels. You get me? Worrying
Yeah,
about that same day, but with me having this end goal, help them achieve that end goal for them, whatever that is,
and
specifically individually for them, so they can get that. And
similar
they will get that.
similar dream. And why is it important for you to lift others up? Why are you on this path to lift others up? What are you on it?
When you lift others up, this is something that I don't know why you get me, but at least for me, like when I lift others up, it's edifying others like you are now, or just individually because you asked the question. I when I build others up, it's so strange, but like what you do to another, you do for yourself. And if you just keep doing good in the world, if you keep giving great attitude, if you keep giving great service, if you keep, you get me, presenting more
Yeah,
deals, and you're like that, like more things are gonna happen in your favor because you're gonna have to do something. And it's just like I can be neutral, or I can be, I guess, in a funny way, like proactive. But at the end of the day, you are that person because chose to be, you get me, like your own person. And
yeah.
it's just like whoa, because there's like a million ways and there's so many different people that talk about it, and I'm speaking in generalities specifically for you. You're going to build yourself if you do that, and just get around people that are going to be building each other up, and don't forget self-talk to build yourself up, because
Yeah.
you, to build others up, have to be a confident person in yourself to be able to do that with a clean heart. And you can start at whatever level you're at.
And there it is. So you can kind of see like the source behind it all. Why you want to build others up is because it builds you up, and then you can feel good about yourself. You feel confident in you. Self love, right? Love for others leads to
Thanks,
self
man. I
love for
self-love
yourself.
just grew up, Mr. Hall.
Check,
Zach.
check it out. It's a feeling. Every result we're all trying to create, we're trying to create this because we expect the result to give us a feeling. We want to be super wealthy so that we feel secure, right? We want to be empowering others and leveling them up so we can feel self-love for ourselves. Like whatever we're chasing, the result we're going after, we think the result or the accomplishment of it is going to create the emotion. But guess what? That's not where it comes from. This result becomes the new circumstance. You then have a thought about that, and that generates the feeling. There are people who have accomplished incredible things and feel empty inside.
Whoa.
I have
On
to
the
tell you,
outside.
yeah, it's not any result you create does not guarantee or dictate the feeling you'll get from it. That's an inside job. And guess what? The best way to create the result you want is to start by generating the feeling now. So the skill that I talked about of people being able to live in the future now in their present environment, they're living and generating this feeling of self-love, which drives them to act and build others up because they don't need others to build them up. They're already built. You're already built up. That's what's leading you, Noel, to broadcast this podcast and to take on and reach out to incredible people and to bring them on and to share their message, to lift them up because you already are generating the self-love for yourself. You're feeling that end result feeling, which is driving you towards it. You follow? So for anyone listening, the best way to ensure that you create the result you're after is to not wait for the outside world to tell you that you've done it, not wait for the circumstance. Start thinking that you have, start thinking that it's assured and that you're worthy of it and that you're capable of it. You will generate emotion genuine from inside as if, and that will drive you to act towards producing it. Thoughts become things. You literally think your way into the result. And that was like the number one lesson that I learned from Bob. This model comes from Brooke Castillo, kind of organizes it all together. But this can be so powerful because you can take whatever's happening to you and you can change the way you feel by changing the way you think. But more importantly, you can understand what you need to think in order to create the feeling that you're chasing. So that you don't have to wait to live life after the result is accomplished in order to feel self-love. You can do that now. You can feel the confidence now and live life from that place. And that has been absolutely transformative for me. And it's driven me to say yes to stuff like this and to help other people out and empower them.
You've accomplished a pretty extraordinary life, you get me. Like the things that you do, I think a lot of the time, like especially nowadays, like I don't know if it's that people aren't like people have to take time to clean the house inside them. And it's
Yeah.
like this episode's gonna be fantastic for that. But you've done a really good job through you get me before, and then like through grace, you get me, and like all these tools being put at you and your disposal, and then you going deeper and deeper and like learning and like unlocking things that it's just like, well, like I didn't know some of these things like work like this, for them to get out of their own way. Like it's gonna be super exceptional because like you've been able to like start your life over from like you hit a place where it's just like, whoa, like it's like, it could have been in your favor. Sometimes, you know, God will do that to just to bless us. You get me when like he won't give you something or he will give you something. And it's just like
Yes, sir.
and that faith where it's just like just that in itself, it's just like you're gonna go farther in life because you had that faith. That faith is gonna put the deposit it's gonna put your faith in the right kingdom. It's gonna put it, you get me in a kingdom where it's just like it's just a faith, but it's in the right gear. Like you're
Yeah.
able to go like further because you get me. It was proactive. It was productive towards yourself, the people around you, and you had something else. And then along with that, there's this thing that I do a lot. It's called Proverbs, and I wanted to talk about this on the call. The tongue has a lot of power. It's like a double-edged sword. So in Proverbs it says that like you can literally declare things into like existence because of that. And with what you said, like have like start really getting to like the next level of your life. You get me? And
Dude, absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting you mentioned faith, because what is faith? Faith is a feeling that comes from the thoughts we have about the things we have faith in, right? And that faith without works is dead. Well, faith that will drive you to action. There's the work, and you'll create the result. I want to give a little tangible takeaway that people can use this little tool. And so it comes from the Brooke Castillo side of things, but it's called a thought download, for lack of like a better word.
yeah.
So anyone viewing this, or you yourself, I do this all the time. Um, when you're feeling a certain way, and let's say it's negative emotion and you're feeling something negative, um, most of us don't think, remember, we don't take the time, like you said, to clean house and to really figure out what's going on up there. We're just living life and we're trying to like white knuckle our way to get what we want. But instead, the next time you feel off, I'd invite you to get out a piece of paper, and I literally mean a piece of paper. I guess you could use the note app in your phone, that's not bad, but you need perspective. You need to actually visually see what's going on. And you write out, no filter, write out everything you're thinking about. So if you're feeling lonely, for example, if you're feeling ashamed, if you're feeling depressed, whenever this negative, and you recognize it, I want you to take that opportunity to get out something to note with, and without filtering, write down everything you can possibly capture that's going on through your head. What will happen is you'll get this like inside look. You'll get perspective of the thoughts that are processing through your brain. And you'll gain such clear awareness, and you'll realize, no wonder I feel like crap. Look at all this terrible stuff that I'm thinking. And then you can look at it and be like, how much of this is even true?
Probably
And
none of it. I mean,
yeah,
maybe some
probably
of it.
none of it. That's
But
the
you gotta get
idea.
rid of it. It's like, how can I fix that? It's like if you eat a
Exactly.
cheeseburger every day. It's like, well, I mean, don't eat the cheeseburger every day.
Exactly.
Switch it
So
for, I don't know, celery, or like there's healthy recipes online for your mind and for your body
exactly.
in the
So
long
this
in the long term.
perspective actually allows you to hold your thoughts in front of you, and to then remove the bias, remove the judgment, get to the facts, and you'll totally shift the way that you're feeling. It's incredible. Just the awareness of it can serve as a great catalyst to put you into a better place to act from. And if you need help with this, I appreciate you posting my socials. Like, feel free to reach out. You're an open book. We would love to help as many people gain control of their thinking, so that they can gain control and produce the results that they want. And I appreciate the opportunity to share all this, man. It's been awesome.
Wow. Um, this has been a really great episode. There's been other episodes that are like this. You guys are gonna definitely love checking Zach out online. It's gonna be at ZHALLZIE, and I'm gonna drop everything in the description for Z Halsey. He also has the Mind RX Academy. So like wherever you're at, you got me like in life, if he chooses to like take you on as a client, depending his calendar, it's definitely gonna be something that like I would I would like say, hey, listen, like you got me, like I might just work with Zach and like I would like it and stuff. Just you get me based off like what I've been able to just in like my times meeting him here and there and just being around the block a little bit, some of the past episodes and just myself and just like if you haven't subscribed, if you're new, go subscribe. But and then the underscore relationship like coach. And you are gonna be able to definitely take your life to like a level that maybe is like new or a new, and it's gonna take it to like something like legendary. You get me potentially. It's like what? Like all this is like possible, and it's just everybody needs a coach, and it's just gonna change your life. You get me? You're gonna be able to do things that you never thought were even possible, and or you never even would have dreamed of, or you're gonna accomplish goals that you never even you were was what was that's like doable, and you're just gonna break limitations and stuff like in every area of your life, and it's just gonna increase. So he's definitely like So go ahead and check them out. It's gonna be Z Halsey. I'm gonna link it in the description. Zach, thank you so much for passing by. I don't know if you want to finish it up. You got me with like an outro,
No, yeah,
preferable.
I would say thanks again. Yeah, just for clarification, Z Halsey is like more of my personal and the solar side of things. So if you're at Sunder, for example, and you want to follow along there, but if you're looking more for input and information on like the model and self development, that's going to be like the MindRx Academy stuff. And I just gotta say, I really appreciate the platform. I love the vision that you're working towards, and keep it up. Like people need this type of stuff. There isn't enough good of it, like good stuff like this out in the world. And so I appreciate you being um, an instrument in the hands of those that are guiding you, an instrument in the hand of the Lord to like progress this and share with as many people as possible because the world needs it. The world needs positive and empowering influences. It's kind of a crazy place out there. I'll just end with this idea that I, if you take away nothing else, take this. There's what happens, and then there's you. You are a separate being, a separate entity from whatever is happening to you or has happened to you. And regardless of what it is, it has no sway, relevance, or even an iota of significance of what you can do or of what you can become because you are human. And as a human being, you are 100% worthy, capable, and lovable. Much respect. Love you guys all.
And to share with that, like the vision that I have towards the end, like because like right now I'm like getting into like ministry and stuff, and like definitely check them out. Here's one thing just for like you, and like like if they watch, awesome. And there's this book, I believe, I forgot which one it is exactly. It's I remember, but if you look it up, it says lay the vision plainly down on the tables, even though it may tarry, eventually it will pass. And it's I definitely want to get into ministry, but I want to get into like music where it's like, hey, listen, like I want to get a bunch of creatives, and either they're already going to be on fire, I'm going to put them on fire. And we're gonna close all doors, and it's just like I want to get those guys under there, and I just want to start sharing like the gospel, and I think it's like positive because like that's something that everybody can do, and it go mainstream like a lot of the other people that are selling like multi-platinum like albums or are, for example, doing blockbuster movies, but like this is very like 180 than that, and just kind of just you get me do good and for remember to always trash the treasures that are up in heaven because you want both, especially if you love them here, imagine there, but you know I definitely want a lot of them here, so I'm gonna go knocking a little bit so I can go get more like Zach and get my cash up and stuff, and I'm gonna just make sure to subscribe, like, comment, guys. We'll check out the rest of the content. Make sure to check out the MindRx Academy, and I'm gonna do a lot more ministry work. And let's just free people. All right, later, dude.
Let's do it.